What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Oak Tree Football channel. Yesterday, I did a video where I talked about the New York Giants, I talked about the roster, I talked about the schedule and their predictions for the 2020 NFL season. So I decided to start doing the same thing, both college football teams. So the first one I will be doing today, I'll be doing the University of Alabama. The University of Alabama is a very historic football team. Since the college football playoff started, they've made it 5 out of 6 times. The only time they missed was last season when 2 got injured. But even before the college football playoff, they were winning national championships. They've been a top team in college football for many years now, and they're one of the most they're one of the biggest college football teams that a lot of players want to go to because it's so big. But now, moving on from Tua Tagovailoa, who went to the draft, they lost 2 first-round wide receivers. They are losing a bit of talent on the team. So here are my predictions for the season. So first, let's take a look at the roster. At quarterback, they have Mac Jones, Mac Jones is a good quarterback. He's definitely not as good as Tua, but he's definitely not a bad quarterback. He's done some good things. He did lose a few games last season when he had to play in place of Tua, but he still should be a good quarterback. And he has some good receiving targets, which we'll talk more about later. But I expect him to have a good season. At running back, they have Najee Harris, who's one of the better running backs in college football. He could have gone to the draft this year, but he decided to stay in college. And I think the reason for that is he hasn't really gotten a huge amount of carries. I think this will be the year where he gets over 300 carries maybe for Alabama. Because they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna throw as much with 2 of their best receivers gone and now Mac Jones at quarterback. They're still good receivers and Mac Jones is still a good quarterback, but I'd expect him to run the ball more. And because they have already a really good running back in Najee Harris. So I expect a big season from him. At the wide receiver position, they have Devonta Smith, who is a great receiver. He had a really good season last year, and he should have even better production now that Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs are both gone. He should have a really good year. And same with Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle didn't have the best stats, but he's got speed. He can be a first-round talent. He can be a first-round pick in next year's draft. I really do believe that. And, of course, now with the 2 other receivers gone, he should get more targets and more receptions. And then third receiver, they have John Mechie. He's just average. He's definitely not as good as Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle, but he's not a bad receiver. At the tight end, they have Miller Forristall. They don't use him that much, I would say, but he'll still be a help out on the team. On the offensive line, they have Alex Leatherwood. Alex Leatherwood is a really, really good offensive lineman, and I think in next year's draft will be a first or second round pick. So he's really good. That'll help Mac Jones. They also have Tommy Brown at the other side on the tackle. He's an okay tackle, and then the guards are Evan Neal and Deontay Brown. Looking over on their defense, at the defensive end, they have Byron Young and Phidarian Mathis. Both not great defensive ends, but both not bad. I feel like I'm saying that a lot, but really that's kind of what Alabama's roster is made up of. Well, some of them they have some really good players, but there are some players that aren't great, but they aren't bad players. At defensive tackle, DJ Dale, once again another example. He's still a good player. He's a good player. He's just not as good as some other defensive tackles are in college football. Looking at the linebacker position, Dylan Moses is a guy to look out for. I've talked about him a few times before, but he was injured the entirety of last season. But he's a really, really good linebacker, and I think he could have a great year as long as he doesn't get injured again. I think he can have a really good year and be a first-round pick in next year's draft. Unless he does something bad after the injury, I think he can be a first-round pick. At other linebackers, they have Shane Lee, Christian Harris. They're pretty good linebackers. Pairing them up with Dylan Moses, it could be a good linebacker core next season. Looking at the cornerback, they have one of the best cornerbacks in college football in Patrick Surtain II. Very, very good player. Of course, his dad, Patrick Surtain, was in the NFL. Patrick Surtain II will probably be a first-round pick I think he'll be the first cornerback off the board. I think he's the best cornerback in next year's draft class. And then the other cornerback, they have Jalen Armour-Davis, who is also a pretty good quarterback. I just noticed I spelled that wrong. But Jalen Armour-Davis, he's a pretty good cornerback. And then the safeties, DeMarco Hellams and Daniel Wright, both pretty good. So that's Alabama's roster. I said a lot that it wasn't. They don't really have any bad players on the roster, but not all their players are great. So now taking a look at their schedule. Last season they went 11-2. That was the 2019 record. And then recruiting class-wise, they had the second best recruiting class in college football, which is really good for them. But on their schedule, Week 1, USC. That is going to be such a good game. I'm very, very excited for that one. One of the best games of Week 1 against USC. Another team with a quarterback to look out for in Kedon Slovis. Two very good teams. I think both could be ranked this season. That's going to be a very, very fun matchup to watch. That could be a tough game for them. That could be a loss. Week 2, Georgia State. This one I don't think will be a loss. This I think should be a comfortable win for Alabama. This one, they're easier games on the schedule. It shouldn't be much of a problem for them. They should be able to do it. I don't think Georgia State will be able to put up much of a fight. I think it will be a good win for the Crimson Tide. Week 3 against the University of Georgia. This could be a tough game. I talked about it before, and I will talk about it more going forward. That I think Georgia can be one of the best teams in college football this season. So that's going to be such an important game, especially because they're both SEC teams. Like, USC's not in the SEC, but Georgia, such an important game. I think it's going to be so close because, Alabama is the home team, which could help them. Georgia versus Alabama, that is going to be one of the better games of the season in Week 3. But then Alabama has a few easy games in a row after that. Kent State, once again, should not be much of a problem. Kent State's not the best team. Let's be honest. There are a lot of better opponents that Alabama could be facing. But then they finally have their first away game against Ole Miss. Ole Miss shouldn't be much of a challenge either. I think Ole Miss can be better this season than they were last season, but I still don't think they're going to be great. So I think that'll be another win for Alabama. Week 6 against Arkansas. Again, not a tough opponent. So it is on the road, but not a tough opponent. A few easier opponents in a row for Alabama. Next up, they play Mississippi State, which could be a tougher game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a pretty good game, but I still like Alabama's better than Mississippi State. It should still be a win. Tennessee, that could be a tough game. Tennessee could maybe pull out a surprise win, potentially. I don't think that will happen, but it is in Tennessee, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Tennessee puts up a good fight, because I could see Tennessee being ranked this year. Week 9, they have a bye week, and then they go into LSU and play the Tigers, last year's national champions. One of the most exciting teams to watch in college football this year, along with the likes of Alabama and Georgia. But one of the most exciting teams to watch. Really, it's going to be exciting to see how it really shapes out after they're getting, they won the national championship, but they're losing, their starting quarterback, Joe Burrow, their running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, their wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, even though they still have Jamar Chase. But many others. They're losing so many important pieces on the team. So I don't think LSU will be as good, but I could still see them putting up a fight for the college football playoff. And same with Alabama. I could really see them being close. Then they have an easier game against UT Martin. That shouldn't be much of a problem. Like Georgia State, like Kent State, like some of these other matchups, shouldn't be much of a problem, and probably a comfortable win for Alabama. Texas A&M in Week 12. This could be a tough game because I do expect A&M to be ranked, but I don't expect it to be that tough a game. I definitely think Alabama will win that game, and it might be a bit close, but Alabama should just be able to win that game. And then to end out the season, unless they make the championship game or the playoff, they play the University of Auburn, the Iron Bowl. It happens every single year, and it's one of the biggest matchups in college football. Auburn won last year. So we'll see if that happens again this season. But Alabama, I think Alabama will probably win that game, but it's going to be fun to watch. Every year, the Iron Bowl is one of the most fun games to watch. One of the bigger rivalries in college football. But now I'm going to give my record prediction. Week 1 at USC, I do think Alabama will get to win. I just don't think, even though USC is a good team, I don't think they're on the level that Alabama is. So yeah, Alabama 1-0. Week 2, Georgia State. I think this will be a pretty easy win for them. I've talked about it already. Week 3, Georgia. This, I think, will be their first loss. Even though they're playing at home, I just think Georgia's too good of a team this season, and I do think they'll be one of the best teams in college football. So I do have Alabama losing that game. I then have them beating Kent State, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Tennessee all in a row before the bye week. So a nice win streak there for them. Then on the bye week, coming into LSU, I could definitely see them losing against LSU. But in my prediction, I do have them beating LSU. But I think it'll be a super close game, especially going to be in LSU. Going to be one of the most fun games to watch in college football. Then UT Martin, I have a win. Texas A&M, I have a win. And then Auburn, I also have a win, which means that Alabama comes in with a record of 11-1, and I do think that'll be enough to get them to the college or the SEC championship game. Though I'm not sure if they'll win there. If they play Georgia, I don't think they'll win. If they play Florida, I think they have a chance. If they win the SEC championship game, I think they'll go to the college football playoff. If they lose, I'm not sure. If they lose, they could still go if they have a really, really good season, especially with the end of the season they have. Like, their schedule, the only game I think they'll lose is week 3 and then just win out for the rest of the year. Maybe because of that, they could squeeze in the college football playoff at like the 4 or the 3rd ranked team. Probably 4th if that was to happen. But that's going to be about it for this video. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave it a like. And if you are new here, feel free to subscribe. In the comment section below, tell me what college football team you want to see me do this next with, because there's lots of college football teams, and I can do really anyone. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.